Hi, this is my latest album. I spent some time on this one, and basically if you've seen my previous videos about making a designer folder, which is a series of file folders that are decorated, then this is a variation on this. This is basically making a series of mini file folders and then binding them together to make a book, and then I'll show you some of the different things I did inside. So here's the cover of the book, and again I just used the mini folder idea, and you see each one of these sections is actually one folder and bound with a cinch. Now what I did with each page is I tried to do something different, so I tried to have a lot of little hidden areas where people could put their journaling and their pictures. So on this page I created a border using my Cricut, and I used some ink, distress ink, to age it. And this is holding these little Polaroids. Now what I did was I found the measurements for an actual Polaroid on the net, and I created the same thing as a pattern in my Cricut machine, and then I cut it out. And then I took some acetate. This is colored acetate, you know, overhead projector kind of sheets. Have lots of those. I used to be a school teacher, so I got quite a stockpile of these. And I fixed them to the back of it with a little glue down here on the wide side. And the idea is you can slip in here a picture, and when you put it back into the album you could seal it if you wish to. You won't see the green. The green is actually a backing, so it's not going to change the color of your picture, but you just put your picture in there and it's like a Polaroid snapshot. And then each of these just tucks in under this border. So I would create 4 of these. But what you'll also find on each one of these pages is this little hidden gem that comes out. Each side has one. Pull this one out. And you see, these are the basic shape that I did to the cover. I tried to keep the same shape throughout as a common thread, and it's just folded in half. Now this was a piece of ordinary cardstock, an off-white color. And what I did to get this pattern is, believe it or not, I used the Cricut for this. Now if you do a search on the internet, and you'll find that there are special little pen holders. Cricut makes a set as well, but you can buy these little holders that drop into your Cricut machine where the blade goes, and they hold a Sharpie or a colored pencil crayon or gel pens. And basically you take whatever pattern you're going to use that you would normally cut with the Cricut, and put the pen in, and then it draws the design. And so I used one of the Cricut cartridges, I think this was Ornamental Iron, and had it do this with a Sharpie, a black Sharpie. And then what I did was I aged it. And I simply aged it by going over it with some walnut ink. I actually had the crystals of walnut ink, which I mixed up into a spray bottle, and just misted it over, then blotted it with a tissue. And then I added some little bit of ink rubbing from distress ink, and I did that on both sides. So here what you have is a little folder that you could either put journaling in, you could put pictures in, you could put loose scraps of, say, newspaper clippings or something like that, and it just tucks right back in to the little pocket here. And there's one of these in each double page spread. Turn over the page. I tried something a little different here. On these sides there isn't a pocket. The pocket is only on one side, although you could make it with a pocket on both sides. It's not that difficult. And I created tags here. What I was really trying to do in this album is to create different ways of holding pictures and journal pieces throughout the album. So on this one I created a little pocket on each side here, just by cutting out a piece and putting it in. You'll notice I decorated it with a little butterfly and some washi tape. And actually I stamped this butterfly out with a rubber stamp, and then I used, what do they call it? Pearls, perfect pearls. And I just used perfect pearls and paintbrush and just colored it in. And actually later on you'll see another colorization, and I use smooches. If you know what they are. And they're very much like perfect pearls, except they're in a liquid form. It's very easy to colorize with them, and it gives a little bit of iridescence to it as well, which is probably not being picked up by the camera. Then I created this tag. Now, this tag surface is actually not inked except for the edges. I cut this out of a piece of wallpaper, vinylized wallpaper. It comes from a sample book. A friend of mine got me a whole pile of these books, and they're great for making covers, and I thought, well, let's give it a shot and try to make a tag. So I did, and I just stamped the same butterfly that's here without coloring it. And on the back, though, I did do a little bit of texturizing with some spray mists, and I just did some more butterflies across it. Again, you can put some journal pictures here, or some pictures, or some journaling there, whatever. Then I added some decorative ribbon to the top. The next page, same kind of thing here. This page has pockets, and you notice the paper that I've used throughout this book is really quite, well, different. It does go together because it came from the same paper pack, and don't ask me what that paper pack is. I never remember. I buy so many of them. It might have been a Recollections, I'm not sure. And I wasn't really that concerned about coordinating the colors because, you know, I find it's kind of fun when you use papers from the same pack. They kind of coordinate as you go along anyways. In this one, again, I cut another type of border from the Cricut. This comes from Elegant Edges, and they've got a lot of borders. I cut it for this length, glued it in, made it into a pocket, and then I created these little books that slip in here. And this is just a piece of pattern paper, and I cut a miniature version of the same shape that I'm using for the overall pages in the book, and just fold it in half. And this is double-sided paper, and this double-sided paper happened to have this wood grain effect in it already, so this is really quick. I didn't do anything else to it, and they just slip in here. So we have 4 of them. Again, we have the tucked away little pockets with the same kind of design. I tried to, after I walnut stained them, I tried to put a little bit of color on them with the distress inks that sort of went with the colors on the page that they were being slipped into. On this page, again, I did the pocket technique, but what I did here was I had a doily rubber stamp, and so I actually stamped it so that the stamp overlaid the pocket. So you can see when you take it out, you only have half of that. In the back, I put a little bit of that doily stamp on it as well. And so when you stick it back in, it just picks up the pattern. And these were a couple of cast-off, actually. They were a couple of die cuts from another project. And I usually save any leftover die cuts, and I put them in little plastic bags and keep them in a basket. And when I need a quick embellishment for something, I just grab some of those things and stick them on. So these were 2 stars. I just overlaid them and just put a brad through them. And there's more washi tape down here. Okay, the next page, I was getting very experimental here, as you can tell. I don't know if this works or not, but it was kind of fun to do. What I did was I created a pocket using a frame. I think this again was Elegant Edges Cricut. Cut it out. And then I cut out another piece of that acetate that I used earlier, and I glued it onto the inside, the back of this frame. So it's basically got a window. And I cut out some butterflies again, and these were cut out of some pattern paper, and just glued them to the center. And then I created these little bookmarks. And these were created with a combination of shapes from several Cricut cartridges. And I just got the right size that I wanted. And then I put the little butterfly on the top, and it's longer than the page, so it will hang out over the edge. I like that effect where ribbon is hanging out or tabs are hanging out or that kind of thing. I think it makes the book more interesting. Over the page, again, 2 pockets here. I did some stamping, some washi tape on that. And now these tags are a little bit different because what I used was something called jelly art, printing plates. If you haven't seen these, do a search on YouTube. They're quite fascinating. Basically, they are a piece of silicone plastic, pretty thick one. You lay acrylic paint over top of them, and anything you press into it, it will retain the image of that object, so you can create texture. And you basically build layers on top of each other. Then you put your tags in it, paper, whatever you want to do. It's kind of fun. No 2 prints are ever the same. You can use stencils with them. On this one, you can see I used a stencil, and this was actually a stencil that I created using the Cricut, and you can see how I do that in one of my other videos, and create the tags that you see here. Over the page, here you get another idea. Again, I use the jelly art kits. Get them in the shot here. And they just create a really nice textured marble kind of interesting effect. So those both go back into the pocket. Again, I use some ribbon, the top, so that they peek over. We're back now again to the pocket idea. We have these inserts. And again, I was experimenting. So on here, I created an accordion fold shape that just pulls out. Hope that's all in the shot. Yeah, there we go. And this was on a piece of patterned paper. Pull out the other one. And the idea here again is pictures, journaling, whatever. You can even use these sides, although I left these sides blank. I added a couple of dollar store. Believe it or not, you get a lot of really neat embellishments these days from the dollar stores, which is where these butterflies came from. And these are two little paper clips with they come with these little designer things. I think I got a package of those at Walmart. And I'm using those to hold down the flap. So it just tucks under there. They're just the right size. I cut these, by the way. Again, I designed them in Cricut and cut them out. Again, I think it was elegant edges. Over the page, again, the pocket idea, some flowers. These flowers came from the dollar store as well. Again, I used the jelly art printing plates to create the tags. Another one, you can see it's got my spirals in the design of it as well. The back, very different effect. And add some ribbon. Now the last page, I simply cut out the same shape as I've been using with the covers. Again, then we have the pockets with the pullouts that I showed you before. And I just folded these in half, double-sided paper, and it creates a couple little fold-out albums. A couple of dollar store flowers again. I put a ribbon around it because actually my book got a little thick. If I was to do this one again, I'd use probably flatter embellishments with it, and I'd use a bigger coil. So in the case of this one, I kind of had to put the ribbon on it, so I just secured it under a book plate that has my name that I put on all my projects. And just bring it around and tie it up into a bow. And I trimmed the edges to give them a little play, and there you are. So that's what I call my mini folder album, made up of a series of mini folders. I have not yet created a video to show you what the mini folders look like, but you get the same idea if you take a look at the video that I made for the designer folder. That's just a bigger version and a single version. So I hope you like this idea.